Welcome to the Wing Life Podcast, where we talk about wing foiling and the lifestyles of those who enjoy this great sport. All right, Cash, thanks for joining me, brother.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, so it's first time us meeting, but I've seen a couple rad moves, if we can use that, from you coming out lately. Like how I want to go into like Punta Preta and stuff like that later, but for a lot of people, let's say Canada, US, even around the world that are just getting to know you, like we were just talking about ice skating. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born on Oahu, in Kailua, and I moved to Maui when I was about 2. And yeah, been here ever since.
Oh, sweet. What were your first memories and stuff of growing up on that island? I've been twice. It's so beautiful there.
It's a pretty amazing place. I'm very lucky to grow up here, and some of my earliest memories, we're always down at your cove. I love to skim on my boogie board, and
oh, cool.
Actually watch Ridge Lenny. He was always down there skimming, and he'd run out, and he'd glide all the way out, and I could get maybe 10 feet. He'd go out and hit the wave and come back in, and that was probably one of my younger memories. I was really into scootering and skateboarding. We were at the skate park a lot, and then I think it always ended in blood and tears. So I realized that I think the water sports might be a better alternative, and switch to that. So a lot of skimming and like stand-up boogie boarding, actually. So yeah, those are the fondest memories.
Oh, sweet. And when did you think, like, how was that progression? You just fall in love with it and it became life? Is that kind of how things happen over there?
Yeah, I think starting off skimming and just playing around the shore break got me comfortable in the water. We did a lot of surfing on the nose of my dad's board, just some small stuff. And then eventually I got my own little short board and started messing around at Ho'okipa and, started doing some contests. And that's kind of just how it, I guess, evolutionalized for me. I don't know if that's the correct word there, but it just kind of took off. And I started surfing, and as I got a little bit older, I got into supping and downwinding and stuff like that. So, part of the amazing part of Maui is there's just so much stuff you can do here in terms of water sports. Kind of a mecca for, doing anything you want, whether it's wind sport related or surfing related, you have that option. So I was very lucky in that sense to hop on the water sports train again.
Oh yeah, for sure. Did you dabble into windsurfing, kiting, anything like that when you were younger?
When I was younger, I didn't. I had no wind sports until I think, 4 years ago. I started winging, and then I learned to kite. I can't figure out windsurfing. I'm trying to learn from a few of my buddies, but it's a slow process.
It's hard, man. Like compared to kiting, or even we can even talk about how you felt learning how to wing. But yeah, windsurfing takes a while. What was it about winging that kind of drew you in as your first wind sport?
I don't really know. I think it was my friend Marley Franco. He's into kiting, and he was always winging. Or I guess he wasn't always winging. He was just getting into winging, and he was kind of the only drum that I knew that was starting to do the sport, and I think he needed a buddy, so he took me under his wing and showed me the ropes a bit. But there was a lot of walking up and down the beach. I couldn't stay upwind, and learned at Kanaha. Yeah, they lent me some gear, the Francos, so big thank you to them for getting me started and helping me walk the gear up and down the beach. It took a while, but we eventually got there.
So how, for those of us and those like individuals and people and stuff that are just learning how to wing, like how did you do it? Considering what level you're at now, was it tow foiling behind a boat, or do you just kind of run out there and connect the pieces on the water as you went?
Yeah, I mean, now there's so much stuff that you can do to learn that's super easy, and the foils are amazing. They're super forgiving. But I think, when we were learning, it was kind of threw us in the deep end. I learned, I guess it was proning, like just, coming from that surfing background, I felt comfortable to paddle on the waves. And we did a lot of Kahului Harbor missions to go and prone the whitewater on the inside, and then eventually inside Hokipa. But yeah, again, Marley was he was learning to prone as well, and he had some extra gear that I hopped on and started proning. And as I was kind of starting to prone, we jumped into winging as well. So it was kind of a mix between the two.
Okay.
But as of now, like if I were to teach someone, I think I'm going to try to teach my dad here, get him stoked on it. But I think behind a boat or like a ski is really helpful. I've seen some people put a bar out the side of a boat, and they
yes.
hold onto the bar, and you put a really big foil on, and you go to all those measures to make it really easy, and it's definitely the way to go. So if I were to recommend a way to learn, it would probably be behind a boat first, just to feel out the foil, and then if you're gonna wing, then you gotta get on a board with a wing and start.
What I found was that I would get some of my clients to kneel first, because it was the easiest way for towing. So they would kneel, and once they could stand, they can stand. But that's pretty cool. So started surfing then in that aspect of foiling, and then connected the pieces. How did you find the evolution of you learning? That must have been like, I love learning a new sport. Because it takes over such a big part of your life. Was it different from surfing, or is it just kind of an evolution of it?
It was completely different from surfing for me, because I think a lot of surfing is a lot of back foot, and a lot of foiling is learning how to put pressure on your front foot so you don't overfoil. And that was a big learning curve for me to understand that. And of course my teachers would tell me, the Francos would tell me that it's going to come up fast, and the foil pops up, and I was like, yeah, whatever, we'll see, just let's go. And you paddle in your first wave, and the thing shoots you up, and you're like, okay, yeah, there you go. So I think me understanding just how much lift that the foil creates was a big one for me. So once I figured that out, it was kind of a turning point, and I was able to kind of go straight, and then eventually kind of hang on the wave for a little bit. But in terms of winging, I think the learning curve was just trying to stay upwind. There was a lot of walking that involved, so it kind of motivated me to stay upwind. Like, I don't want to walk this beach again. And we eventually got there. And once you stay upwind once, you're like, oh, it's possible. So it took a few sessions for sure. I think winging to stay upwind, it was probably 3 to 5 sessions for me before I was able to kind of stay upwind and get it going. But I think proning took a lot longer. I'm still learning how to prone, and
I can only imagine.
A lot of crafting.
Yeah, I can only imagine that. Well, that's pretty cool. So how did it go from there to you like competing on tour? Like how was that kind of evolution? Is that something that you had always thought about doing, or it came up naturally, or?
Yeah, no, I really never had any interest in competing for winging. I competed for the surf contest here on Maui, and went to states and nationals one year, and just I love to surf, but I eventually kind of was over it, and I stopped competing in the surfing area there. But I still love to surf, and I try to pick my contests wisely, but I never really had the desire to go and compete in winging until I saw, I think it was the first Cape Verde event that happened, and I saw the guys winging in waves, and I was like, you know what, I think we've been doing that forever, and just as good, so I think we could hang in. So that's kind of what inspired, I guess, that first Cape Verde event.
Oh, cool, man. Nice. And then what? We had second place, Cape Verde 2024. We had third place for your GW Wingfall, and you're
third in the world, I think, 2023.
Yeah.
And second at Cape Verde. I got a second place, I think, in Brazil, and a first at Dakla.
Yeah, you won Dakla in 23. Okay.
Yes, that was nice. That was what pushed me into third. I think I tied with Malo by 0.02. I beat him, so.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was not my best, but we'll take it.
Hell, man, those are pretty good considering it wasn't even on your radar. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, we've seen foil slide videos. We've seen all these videos coming from you, and even your super crazy awesome bottom turns and stuff that you're doing with your wing. Like, is that just something that you guys are practicing on Maui, or because the earlier foils, obviously, this kind of stuff would be a disaster. But like I was talking to Tom, and we mentioned this because of this year's event where your huge foil like slide across the lip and stuff. Can we go into that? Like, how long did that take you to master the control of the foil to even think about doing something like that on such a critical wave?
Yeah, it definitely didn't start there. That clip at Cape Verde, yeah, I didn't start
I
doing
don't
that,
doubt.
but it was a lot of. I think it actually started from overfoiling, just trying to go fast and then overfoiling and
Okay.
trying to save it actually. So it wasn't really on purpose. And then once I did it a few times, I was like, hey, this is kind of fun. And you go on flat water, go really fast, and then mess up basically and overfoil. But if you were able to control it, you'd end up sliding a little bit. And I think after that, a few times, I was like, oh, maybe we can just try to do this on purpose. And it worked on flat water. And yeah, we were just doing it a bunch just on flat water. And then eventually, I think it it came into our wave riding because, coming from that surfing background, you're always trying to throw spray on your turns. And the foil, when you just regular carving, you're not throwing spray. So sliding was the alternative. So we started trying to do that. And it kind of actually tied into the lay down bottom turn, which also started on flat water. And it was just to kind of, improve your skills on a jibe. So it just started with jibes, and then started doing those on the waves. And as you kind of came out of it, it was almost like a top turn surfing. So then we, just started doing it, and it's really fun. I tell everyone this when they ask the question, and it's just fun. We're just trying to have the most fun in the water, and both of those
Yeah, that makes
maneuvers are
sense.
kind of what we do. But yeah, the lay down bottom turn, just from watching windsurfers. If you ever come to Ho'okipa, or I guess any wave spot in the world, you see the bottom turn that they do, and it's pretty similar to diving the wing and being able to see the section. So
Do you find it's easier for you to flip the wing that way so that like the leading edge is facing, or sorry, the trailing edge is facing forward, or just pop the wing over your head when you're going into it, or does that throw your body into a different position?
like just doing it regular is the easiest. You can always move your hand and flip it so the leading edge is in front of you. But when you bring it up, the wing isn't going to be how it was coming into the maneuver.
Yeah,
So
fair
you
enough.
kind
Fair
of want to
enough.
just kind of want to keep it steady.
All right. So you started off on tour. How did you find getting your first sponsor and moving along that? Was that something that you had experienced in surfing before, or like because Armstrong, you're with those guys. They're an amazing team. So how did that whole journey go?
Yeah, it was back to learning. I think I signed with Armstrong when I was really young, and I was just starting off. Really, I was learning, and I couldn't believe that I got a sponsor. I could barely jump around, and I think it was again back to Marley Franco and the Franco Ohana, who got me into winging it. They knew a guy named Kevin Collins here on the North Shore that worked for Armstrong I think he was a distributor, and kind of just helping out. And he was looking for a rider, or they told him they were looking for a rider, and the Francos let him know that I was getting into it, and he came down and met me at the beach, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess. I signed with them and got my first Armstrong setup. It was so much better than the setup I was learning on. So I think going from the really horrible setup that I was learning on to the Armstrong gear was crazy, because it was just so much better. So my level kind of just skyrocketed in that sense. And yeah, I just started riding for them and trying to get content. I met Slater Naborski, and we started shooting water stuff, and yeah, that's
Oh,
how it
that's
went. I've
awesome.
been with them ever since. it's been crazy. I've never experienced anything like it in surfing. Like, I never really went out and looked for sponsors as much as I could have in surfing. And the ones that I got were not as, you know, I didn't have as much of a personal relationship with them. Like Armstrong
Hmm.
is, as I'm sponsored by them and it's amazing to work for them. It's more of a family to me. And as you said, the team is just crazy. So I think everyone a part of it has just been so kind to me. And yeah, it's just been an amazing experience.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm super happy for you for that. I met Army at AWSI and just, yeah, he's such an awesome guy, such an awesome personality, and Nathan and the other guys over there. So, and their gear is phenomenal. Like I started off on another brand and then I switched year number 2, I think, because my buddy was like, dude, you have to try Armstrong. And I'm still riding one of the original Armstrongs. So yeah, it doesn't do some of the things as well, but still, it's still an amazing wing. Um, so what is your favorite Armstrong setup? Could we go into like what you started off with them and then what you're riding now?
Yeah, I see if I can remember what I started off with them. I believe I had a 232 tail with a 1050 front wing, and then the math was a 72, and I'm assuming the fuse, a 60.
Okay.
Um, I yeah, I don't remember the board. I think I got a 27-liter board. I still have it. I prone on it now.
Oh,
Um,
sick.
it's amazing. I still love that thing. But um,
Now you have the gamut of anything that you can pick from. Um,
yeah,
it doesn't matter anymore. But like, how do you pick your gear for somebody getting into this? Like, do you pick it based on wind strength, wave size, conditions, all that kind of thing? Do you enjoy a certain type of foil over another?
yeah. I try to keep my gear as you know close to the same, like as similar as I can. Just so I know if I change one little thing, I'll know what it's doing. Um,
Mm.
for winging, I'm always on the MAs. If it's lighter, maybe I'll go to an 800, but for the most part, I'm on the MA 625. Um, also for winging, I'm always on the 180 tail. I usually throw a red shim in there, and I know it's, a 1 degree difference, but I like it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool.
60 fuse, I think works for everything. It's just a really good, starting point, and yeah, it just overall, you're not going to be displeased with a 60. And then mass wise, I ride a pretty small mass. It's the 795, so it's a little bit bigger than the 72 that I started on, but it
Hmm.
is the performance one, so it's a little bit more efficient, and I'm really liking it. And then board wise, just came out with the new FG boards. I think I'm on a 40 liter now, so I was on a
Oh, okay.
27. I had some Christmases at the grandma's, so I had to go up to 40 liters. But yeah, that's the setup now. I think when I started the gear that I had, it was amazing. If I went back to that gear now, I think I'd be pretty baffled at how far it's come. But as I was writing for them, they kept coming out with new stuff, and I would just kind of build off that. And I think a lot of it was front wing related. I was on the 232 forever, that tail, and they kept coming out new front wings. So I was on the 1050. And then I think the CF range came out, which was
Oh,
considered to
yeah.
be more of a beginner setup. I really loved their 950, that CF. That's where I started doing the slides because there was bigger surface area, um, and it was more turny. So I loved it. I played around a lot with their HAs. I think I was on the HA 525 forever. I loved it. It was so fast and maneuverable. A lot of good sessions at Hokipa. That wing's pretty beat up. I think it's in the reef too many times.
I don't doubt.
But they just kept coming out with better and better stuff. So whenever they came out with something, send it over and I'd try it and be like, oh, this is my new favorite. But then I'd leave the other one and get to the next one, and um, that's kind of it. I mean, now I've been on the MAs for a while now. Whenever they came out, I haven't gone back to anything else just because they're super efficient and they do everything I want them to do. In terms of proning and stuff, I usually with the tail and the front wing, I think I go smaller tail down to the 140, and I use the HAs depending on, how big or small the waves are.
Oh,
Usually
okay.
between the 680, 580, and 780. So I've
Okay.
been
So
loving
still pretty
those.
small.
Yeah, and then for towing stuff, I'm still on the MAs. I think they're just super rippable, and yeah, I enjoy them a lot. Maybe change out a mast or two. And then now, even for downwinding, it's downwind season here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no wind today, which is a little weird. So we're not going to downwind today. But the DWPs came out, and those are amazing. I've been riding the 680, which is fast and it has a really good low end still. So it kind of depends on what I'm doing, but for the most part, I think between the HAs and the MAs, I'm pretty set for whatever the conditions have in store.
And how much do you weigh for those people at home, just to kind of give a, obviously there's some skill, but weight wise?
Think so in pounds, I think I'm 140. Could be wrong, maybe 145.
Okay.
And then in kg, I think is that 67?
Yeah, you're like mid 60s, I think,
That's
or low 60s.
okay,
Yeah.
65
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
Somewhere in the 60s, maybe low 70s.
Okay.
Um,
So there's like, I'm 145 in pounds, so there's 150. So there's no reason I can't ride the same gear then. No
there
reason
you
at
go.
all. I'll step it up.
It's all preference. I mean, whatever works for you works, and
Yep.
I think that's why foiling's so amazing. Is there's so many different variations of gear that you could put together, and it really is, whatever you like. And I think if you try something for a week straight, you'll be happy with it eventually, because all the gear now is just so amazing. Um,
Hmm.
but it really is preference. So
Yeah, I think I don't even know if it matters too much on brand. Like obviously, a lot of gear has stepped up and brought it forward. Is there any kind of advice you would give somebody getting into wing foiling, that why should they? Because this is your first wind sport, so if you're surfing, if you're snowboarding, if you're skiing, if you're doing whatever, why would they get into wing foiling?
I think it just opens up a lot of opportunities. Like you can go anywhere on a wing if there's wind. And if it's nuking and it's bad to surf, and you want to get in the water, you just go wing. You don't have lines for your kite to roll out. You just kind of throw out the kite and pump it up and get on your foil setup. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in that. Bring in a front wing, a tail, and a mast and fuselage on a surf trip never hurt. It's
Yeah, that's
eighty
true.
percent 80% of the time you go on a surf trip and the waves are, not firing the whole time. So the days that it's bad, you go foil.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Stepping into, do you put a lot of mental prep, or what kind of physical prep do you do for competition now? Because you're like in the top ranks. Is there anything that you do special that you like to do before a contest?
Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah, you got to work out and, stay in shape. But I think getting in the water almost every day for me is probably the biggest thing, even if it's just going for a swim. Just, yeah, the main thing is staying in shape and eating healthy. I think that's a big one. And in terms of mental stuff, I don't really know. I just try to, stay happy and be in the moment. I like to listen to music, but yeah, I'm not really sure how to be mentally prepared for anything. You can be as prepared as you can, but I think it really comes down to how much time you've put on the gear and in the water. So
Okay.
practice makes perfect. There you go.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then any kind of injuries and stuff that you've had to overcome? Frank was asking that at home because he saw your latest Fiji clip and stuff. And he was like, first thing that came to mind was fear. And then second thing that came to mind was, hey, has he been hurt? Has he like, have you had to deal with any of that kind of aspect of stuff yet?
Yeah, I think it, especially coming into foiling, like learning it, I was super scared. I was like, oh, I really not want to hit foil, and it looks scary. And I think, as long as you learn to fall correctly, you're good for the most part. But
Yeah.
so far, I've had no real bad injuries, knock on wood,
Yeah.
but a few scratches here and there, and the foils can get super sharp. I think, we've been downwinding a few times, and just, you nick the foil with your foot and you get a little bit of a slice, but um, yeah, nothing too serious. I always wear a helmet, so that's the big one for me. But yeah, it's yeah,
Just
nothing
time on
serious.
water. Yeah, and that's good though. Like I don't think I haven't had anything serious. Nobody that I really know has had anything too serious, but it is definitely similar to like skating. When you're falling off that board, you just can't kick it or you can't do anything crazy because it's gonna flip up. But that clip about Fiji, when you were jumping those boats and stuff, Frank was asking what your best trick was for jumping high, because he's using Surfer app right now and he's trying to like get as high as he can. So for those people going for a little bit of pop, what do you think?
I think in terms of pop, you're gonna want, the right foil. I don't know what that foil is. I for the Armstrong stuff, I love the MAs, but I think it's just again, practice. If you want to learn to jump, I wouldn't just go straight into, jumping a boat, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
um a lot of it is, it's similar to kiting. You want to really hunt up into the wind and make sure you're sheeted in and really lit going into it. Of course, bend your knees. Like any sport, you got to be low and kind of explode out of that jump. But I'm sure there's, tons of videos to watch that
Yeah, yeah,
will
yeah.
will show you how to jump and get a little bit higher. But of course, a little bit more wind help, bigger wing.
Yeah. Okay.
But a lot of it is just speed. Yeah, you need speed to get high. So,
Speed
or a
and
big
ramp.
kicker. If you hit a wave, there you go,
Yeah.
you're already 4 feet up.
Yeah, no
So
kidding. Is it just fun that keeps driving your progression? Like what drives your progression forward into either coming up with new moves or that kind of thing?
yeah, it's a good question because I just love it, and I love the community that associated with foiling, and all the types of foiling. It's just such an amazing crew, and water sports in general has been amazing, and it's kind of been my whole life, since I could ever remember. And um, what's driving me, I don't know. It's just love it. So, and
Yeah, that's fair.
kind
I
of
I think all of us that are in it understand that. And yeah, it's just a love and passion for it. And it's just something that we would rather do that than something else. So yeah, that's pretty cool. What events are you thinking about going to this year on GWA?
so I'm just doing the wave stuff this year. The next one is Dakla, and then they finish in Brazil again. So those are the next two. I think I'm gonna try to do some sup downwind races this year. It is the season, like I said, and I think July is the big month. We do there's a few channel crossings and races that occur here in Hawaii, so we're looking forward to that. But yeah, that's it. That's about it.
Do you have any so far, like you've been able to travel the world a little bit with this? How's that been? Kind of seeing different places and getting off the island?
It it's been crazy. I always tell myself that after traveling, I don't realize how amazing Maui is and how lucky I have been to grow up here. But I think I only realized it once I left and then came home, and then I realized. But um, yeah, again, I wasn't expecting to compete, let alone, travel the world. And Armstrong's given me that opportunity. So, big thank you to them. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey and seen some amazing things that I would never have seen otherwise. So, yeah, very grateful for that.
Yeah, I don't doubt. What's your top favorite wing foiling spot so far?
Oh, I think it would have been this most recent one in Cape Verde, just because that wave is insane. Whether you're foiling it, kiting it, or surfing it, the froth is definitely there. It was probably the most insane wave I think I've ever seen, just to even surf. I was there with Finn Spencer, who's my buddy here on Maui, and we were just mind blown. And all we wanted to do was go surf when there was no wind, and then when there was wind, we were just frothing out to go swing. So definitely Cape Verde.
That's a pretty crazy wave, eh?
Yeah, with the Preto is it's nuts.
So what does nuts mean for somebody who grew up in Hawaii? Like, because my neighbor windsurfed at a couple other spots over there, and he's a pretty good sailor. And even then, he was like, "This is an extremely, extremely advanced wave."
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's a perfect right-hander for surfing carves or foiling carves or kite carves. Every now and then the thing barrels. Um, and it goes for, I don't know, 100 yards, 200
Wow.
yards maybe,
Oh, wow.
150
Okay.
yards, somewhere in there. It's pretty long. Um, but it is right on the rocks, so there is a element of danger there. It's not too kind to the foil if you mess up. It's kind of a you know, you gotta wing it and foil it with care.
How was that contest for you?
It was great. I got second, and more other than placing, I was just happy to be there again. And we got so lucky with the conditions. We had plenty of wind, and the waves were just absolutely pumping. So couldn't have asked for much more.
And you. Let's talk about that infamous kind of wing drop that you did, trying to get a little barreled. What were you thinking?
Back to Finn Spencer. I think we went against each other in the semis, and we're like, hey, whoever wins this, you're going to the final. You have to get barreled at least once. So, unfortunately, I took him out, and I was in the final, so I had to keep my promise. And I don't know if we consider that a barrel, but the effort was definitely there. Um, we were trying to have fun, and it was at the end of the heat anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It felt right.
Nice. So what's next for you? Like, what are you? Is there any projects that you're working on, or then what kind of your next latest kind of moves that you're working on?
You're always trying to innovate in terms of tricks and stuff, but my focus right now is mainly downwind stuff, just getting the body prepared for the downwind race this year. Um, and that's kind of the main goal. There's not really any major project as of now. I think maybe after July we're gonna look into something, but stay tuned for that.
Cool.
It'll be an interesting one. But yeah, other than that, just the contest with the GWA, and then wherever Armstrong sends me, I'm there.
Oh, that's cool. So you get to go on photo shoots, try out the latest and the greatest and that kind of thing?
Yeah, if I get invited, I try to show up. So
Come on,
um,
Army. You got to invite them.
yeah, we gotta put a good word in for me if you see Ari next, and yeah. So hopefully there's a few photo shoots in between there and the next GWA event, but yeah, we'll see.
Okay. So for getting into downwind foiling, obviously you guys are what, are you a mile or 2 miles offshore in Hawaii to do that there?
Yeah, I think yeah, you probably a mile once, at the most. Um, Maybe it's a little bit less. It's probably a little bit less, just for we have the Malika run here, which is about 8 miles from Malika to Kali Harbor. It's a pretty forgiving run. It's really nice and easy to access. So,
Okay.
it's really good training and practice. So, um, yeah, but you're probably a mile, maybe probably half a mile.
Okay. So nothing too crazy then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
nuts.
yeah. Is there anything else you kind of want to touch on or talk about or introduce to people?
Not that I can think of right now. I'm trying to get down to La Ventana to see these conditions that you've been talking about. I'm kind of excited, but
It
I've heard great things and would love to come out.
Yeah, it's my first time coming down, but normally what we do or what I do is do like a 5 or 6K downwinder on the wing, and
Okay.
then play there at the beach, and then just do like a 5 or 6K upwinder afterwards. But overall, we're getting shoulder to kind of head high swell. It hasn't been crazy windy this year, but it's supposed to be good today through Wednesday, so we should get some shoulder high kind of stuff. It's just a beautiful little Mexican kind of desert town. People are amazingly friendly, good food, and it's it's a really nice kind of community. Everybody waves regardless of where you're walking to or what you're doing. Everybody waves. It's a little bit similar to Maui, I find in that. Like Maui is such a friendly island that I find. Just there's a lot more greenery over there. One thing I'm missing over here is grass. It's all sand, which is such a different. It's so different. But it's super fun. So I would recommend anybody to come out and check it out. And it's fairly easy to get to. So um, but yeah. But considering Maui, I know you had mentioned Kanaha, the harbor, Ho'okipa. Are there any other spots there that you really love?
Yeah, those are kind of the main ones. I think between the harbor, Kanaha, and Ho'okipa, you're pretty set. Sheer Cove is an amazing spot. I grew up there. I think we talked about skimming there in the
Oh
beginning.
yeah.
And that's a beautiful beach that has wind every now and then when there's when the trades are going. And there's Kuau, which is up towards Ho'okipa as well. So if you launch at Kuau, you kind of go up to Lanes or Ho'okipa. So that's a fun spot. Again, it's just it's a rocky beach, but it's pretty beautiful.
Okay.
So, but between those, I think you're set.
Yeah.
The wing is so great because you can do an upwinder. It's 8 miles if you wanna go the whole North Shore there, but that's not for me. I don't like upwinding.
It's tough. Man.
I'll stick with the downwind. My shoulders aren't ready for the 8 mile upwinder. But yeah, that's what's so great about the wing is you can just go explore and find new spots.
And just make sure it stays a bit fun. That's actually one aspect of today that I learned, being more focused mentally on competition. But it seems like, and it kind of goes into the community of winging, that it's just focus on more and more fun. And these things are just fun to pull off. So make sure to focus on that for everybody out there learning and that kind of thing. Not worry as much about your level. I guess it just comes naturally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think going into it, just like anything, you got to go into it with an open mind and realize that you're going to crash and fail. So you just gotta, keep getting back up and keep trying it, I guess.
So that's what you're gonna. That's what you're gonna teach your. That's what you're gonna teach your dad today. Then.
Yeah, the goal is not to break him. That as much as the goal would be to get him on foil, I think it's to have him walking the next day.
Yes.
So that's the main goal. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hell, I hope you have fun doing that today. And do you have any like brothers and sisters? And is the rest of your family in Hawaii too?
I'm an only child.
Okay.
I'm here with the dad and the grandparents. So the dad's side lives on Long Island, where dad and mom are from.
Oh, cool.
And the grandparents on my mom's side are in Utah.
Oh, Utah. That's beautiful there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice spot. So every now and then we go and visit and hopefully get some snow. But yeah, right now it's just me and the DAD.
Hey, that's
holding
awesome.
Down in Hawaii.
Oh, that's awesome. And you mentioned you want to learn how to skate?
No, I used to skate. I'm out of the skating era. I got hurt too many times. Too many tears were spilled over skating. So I try to refrain from any action sports over hard surfaces.
All right, fair enough. So no mountain biking, none of that. I guess the water's safer, eh?
Yeah, I used to bike out a lot actually here. There's some good trails, but yeah, not anymore.
Okay.
Again, too many tears spilled over that. How about
Cool.
you? How's your biking skill? Anything over there?
They're pretty basic. Here, there's some really good mountain biking. I'm going to bring one next year if I come back. But I spend half my year in Vancouver Island, so there's some pretty good stuff there. But the same mindset as you, we have not gotten hurt in the water. So we spend a lot more time wipeouts, winging, hurt a lot less than on snow, ice, or rocky hard ground. Yes. And if you want to do this sport until you're 90, I just turned 41. So it's like, we hit the gym a lot. We try to make sure we eat well, but then also try to minimize silly injuries it's like a win to whatever, like a benefits to rewards ratio. And winging, even if it is smaller conditions, I think it's way more enjoyable. So that's what we pretty much spend our time doing. That and kiting. My brother's a big kiter, so he loves doing that too. So yeah. Cool, buddy. Well, hey, I hope today goes well. It's super fun teaching family how to get into these sports, and I hope your dad has a blast. I'm sure it's such mentally draining and physically draining getting into this, so I hope it's fun.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think there's gonna be some laughs, but yeah, again, the goal is not to break him. He's probably hiding
Yep.
from me right now. I think he's trying to avoid the what's coming.
Nice. What gear are you setting him up on?
Yeah, so actually, Armstrong just came out with the step one system. So it's step one. It's right in the
Okay.
name. It's ready for anyone who's beginning and learning the sport. So it's really big front wing. I think the front wing's like a 1550,
Okay.
and then the tail is a 300.
Okay.
The mast and fuse is like it's all alloy, so it's price point's a lot lower. It's a lot cheaper, so hopefully more people can get into the
Hmm.
sport. And it definitely has a little bit more drag than the performance mass and stuff like that. But for what it is, it's an amazing beginner setup. And um, yeah, I mean, I haven't tried it. We're gonna see if it's a good beginner setup. I'm pretty sure it is from what I've heard. But yeah, the dad's gonna try it out, and that's kind of our testee. He's never even tried the foil, so it'll be his first time, and
Oh,
it'll
sweet. This is
be
gonna be fun.
it'll be a good test for the step one system.
Okay, let us know. Let us know how it goes, and
We'll keep you updated.
yeah, I hope that goes well and you have fun today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, is there anything else? Anything else you want to talk about?
Nice T-shirt, by the way. Like, I love the Armstrong gear for that. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you sport that
Looking a
around.
little bit this morning. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
comfortable. You know, it
Shows
works
off
as a
your guns when
t-shirt.
you're at the beach.
Yeah, it can work as like a what's it called? The short guy muffler
Yeah.
shirt. I don't know how.
Actually, I got something. Like, how does it feel to get to meet these amazing riders like Bo and everybody else from around the world and build this kind of community that's built? Like, how's that been for you?
It's pretty amazing. Going to the GWA event, you get to see all different riders from around the world. It is a world tour, so it's cool just to see so many different cultures in one place. I mean, Maui is full of different people, and I've been lucky enough to be able to grow up amongst them and realize that there's a lot of different people out there. And I think the GWA is just another part of that. So everyone really focused on one thing and super stoked to be in the water. So it's cool to be around other people that are just frothing out on the ocean.
Mm.
Even with going on trips with Armstrong, you get all the team, and again, they're just stoked to be there, and nothing else is going on besides shooting for the team and making connections. So it's a really good vibe, when you go travel and see other riders who are kind of doing the same thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and then build some good friendships that last a long time, and like you
Yeah,
can
exactly.
go ride at their local spots whenever you can. That kind of thing. That'd be pretty
Yeah.
sweet, actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
awesome.
I think I met Oscar Johansson a few years ago, and he still hasn't invited me over to his house. I don't know what's going on. I think it's because I keep
Come
beating him
on.
in backgammon. So I'll let him win one of these days, and maybe I'll get the invite. But yeah, it really is all about connections, and it's just cool to know people around the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. So do you ever put on a big thick wetsuit and get into cold stuff, or are you fortunate enough to stay in the warm?
It's not my forte, but
Okay.
if I have to, you gotta do what you gotta do. I think that my extent of the wetsuit is probably California. I put like a full suit on one time. Yeah,
Okay.
that was a big leap. But no hoodies, booties, gloves, not yet. I'm sure the time will come, and I'll be yeah, not too happy about that. I can barely get the full suit on. The spring suit is where it ends for me. But yeah,
That's pretty
nothing too
sweet.
cold yet.
Yeah, we have like 654s here in well, whenever I'm in Canada, 5 mil boots and mitts and
Oh
hoodies
no.
and everything. And you know what? I think it's time to go to Hawaii. I think it's time.
You know, I seriously, that's what I'm saying. You just gotta get out here. You have a place to stay if you ever want to come out. But yeah, I'm just cold thinking about that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you just can't move. Like, how do you like get in it and then you're just caught?
You're kind of like, have you ever seen those Michelin Man commercials? Maybe not because you're where you're at, but in
I think
like
so.
Canada and the US, you got this Michelin kind of tire company and stuff, always pushing these winter tires. You kind of feel, you kind of feel like that, and you get forearm cramp, and it's taking it off.
Oh,
You know what? That's the hardest part. It's taking it off.
that's what I was gonna say. Like,
Yeah.
you get like two buddies behind you, just like rip the thing off, or how's it work?
You kind of there's a yeah. Sometimes you got to help zip up, or but the new suits are pretty awesome. Like I'm running an Excel suit now, and it's getting like the front zip, but it's like 6 mil front zip, so it's like getting that initial first elbow and stuff out, and kind of getting it off your shoulder, and then once you're there, you feel less claustrophobic. But when your hands turn white because you can't feel anything, you got to have like a lot of, and then you're like, why am I doing this? There's other places in the
Yeah,
world.
that's not ideal. I'm just not feeling it. I mean, I've seen videos of like guys like they cover themselves in Vaseline and then they like flip into it. It's just like
No.
not feeling it. And then what happens if you go like 2 days in a row? Is your suit wet? There's no chance of getting that thing on.
Yeah. So it
But I was
depends what you're
back up.
doing. Yeah. So like when we're in the Great Lakes, we'll go, if you're camping, you're done. Like the next day, your suit's soaked. There's nothing you can do other than just put a wetsuit back on. I don't know if there's anything in life worse than putting a thick, cold, wetsuit back on.
It doesn't seem possible.
So, anyways, folks at home listening in, I think he's just saying, come visit Hawaii, come visit Maui. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It can be a lot more affordable than we think, eh? Like for people who had never been, like it is a bit more like when I went, I was able to do it fairly economically. So flights aren't crazy. And how is the island actually recovering from the fires and whatnot that happened over in that part? Have you seen a lot of that?
Yeah, it's doing all right.
Okay.
The west side did take a hit, but
Hmm.
it's slowly coming back. And I think the Catalina will definitely be back. It won't be the same, but it'll definitely be back, and we're rebuilding. But yeah, tourism is back. I don't know if it's in full swing, but it is back. There is a lot of tourist islands, so welcome to come over and yeah, swing by. We can go for a wing session.
Yeah, and come see some turtles and stuff. I remember those turtles at Ho'okipa are just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. They tend to get in the way when you're surfing cabills there a bunch, but as
Have you
long as you
hit
don't wear a green wetsuit, I think you're good.
have you hit when foiling?
I think I have, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately I have. But they have a hard shell, so as long as you hit them on the shell, I think they're not going to be happy, but they're yeah. Usually when you're winging, you can see them, and then you kind of go around. But every once in a while, you'll kind of be out of it and just.
Yeah, I've hit some jellyfish before in Vancouver Island. That's interesting because it's just
Uh-oh.
these weird little blue things and stuff. And there's some box ones that are poisonous or whatever. The Man of War ones, I think there's some there. Um, but yeah, luckily. Any whales, shark stuff?
Got the full
Like
wetsuit on, you're good.
yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah, yeah. Never mind, you're fine.
there's a lot of wildlife here. Yeah, I think whale season is coming to an end here, or it has already. But yeah, we get a lot of whales. There's shark, the ocean. But yeah, there's dolphins and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Nice, brother. Well, hey, man, thanks for taking the time on your Sunday to come here and join us and just have a chat and answer a bunch of stuff. It was pretty cool. It was nice to meet you.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Yeah, good to meet you. And maybe I'll see you down in Mexico one of these days. I'll let you know if I ever swing by. Or Ottawa, where is it? Or Vancouver Island.
Yeah, either that. But you know what? It's getting cold. We're getting old. And I think it's time to come and visit. To come see some of those waterfalls and do some of those hikes and stuff back in Maui. I think that's what the next step is. So I'm going to go check that out. So I'll let you know if I get
Well,
out there.
you're more than welcome. Shoot me a text here, come out, and yeah.
Sounds good, buddy. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight or today or this morning. And we'll chat soon. We'll see you next time.